welcome everybody to ConvergeML. And in today's video, we're going to go over logging in Python. Now, logging is really essential when you are making, applications or some machine learning model that is going to finally land into production. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the debugging experience, because you will definitely have errors, right? And when you put this into production, if something goes wrong, you really want to make sure that you really get feedback from your system as to what's really happening and at what execution, at what part of the execution an error occurred, for example, and what was that error and stuff like that, right? And so you really want that kind of information coming through to you as feedback when something is running in production, or even when you're sort of running it in development. So it's a really good skill to have. And if you know that, that's going to really benefit you in the long run. Now, there is definitely printing that you can do, but logging is like a beefed up solution for printing, because in logging you could do a lot of things, and also logging is persistent, right? So printing statement not persistent. So logging, you can sort of log your files, you can log multiple files, you can log different modules, and there are a lot of utilities around logging as well, and so we'll cover some of those. So let's get started. What I have right now is I'm in this directory called logging examples. It's a blank directory. And what I'll do is I'll create two files in this case, and I'll say it's going to be ex example1 and example2, right? So I'm going to create these two files, and they're at this point created. So you can see I've got these ex1 and ex2 files. And the first thing that I will actually do is let's go and open one of these files. And let me close the terminal, and I will zoom this. So hopefully you can sort of see this. Now, whenever you sort of have the Python environment, right, logging is built in. So by default, you should have logging as a module. As I said, it's because it's a built-in. So if I write import logging, I should be able to get that, right? Once you have this, what you could do is, you want to log something. So before I start, trying to show you how to log, but think of a scenario where maybe what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to import a data set, right? So from a machine learning perspective, let's say I have sklearn and got data sets, and from that I'm going to import load_iris. This is a simple data set. Now, while I'm doing that, so let's first call this so load.iris. And when I'm maybe, this was many lines long, but imagine there was a simple use case in this case, which is I wanted to, so if I run this file, I'm going to start with the print statement just to show you. So when I run this file, what I want is a message. So maybe what I want is getting iris data set, right? This is something that I want to print. So, well, what's going to happen? So let's come here, and what we'll say is we'll execute this file. This is ex1. So yeah, if I run that, right. So if I run that, then you will see that I didn't have a .py. So yeah, so it's python3ex.py. I get this getting iris data set, which is being printed. But again, so this is all good, but maybe I want to take what I have as a message, but log it somewhere, save that file, right? And we want to do that. So what we will do is, by the way, the reason the first one didn't work is if I don't want to mention py and mention sem, then this will run, right? So yeah. Anyways, so to start with logging. The first thing is you have the logging module. So I'll say logging.basic config. Now at this point, what I have is a basic configuration of logging. When you sort of import this basic logging, what I have to do is I'll have to write logging.info, right? Now logging.info is, because this is an information step, right? Where I'm just saying that, oh, I'm getting the iris data set. Now, what this info is called is a level. Now there are various levels in logging. So let's just head over to the browser and let me just show you where you can find these levels and what do they actually mean. So if I come here and if I say logging, right? So the first thing I get is logging facilities for Python. Let's click on that and let's keep scrolling. And you see these logging levels. The debug mode is the most verbose mode, where you want to sort of print is the lowest level where all your messages will be printed. So if you're set to debug, then all your info, warning, error, critical messages will be printed. If it is at info, then info will be printed, warning, but the debug one will not be printed, right? So if it's at warning, which is set to numeric value 30, if that is set, then anything below warning will not be printed. So these are the levels. So in this case, when I sort of have this, when I have this logger, by default, it is at warning level, right? So what's going to happen is that, sorry, let me just move on to that screen. Yes. So, so here, when I say logging.basic config, and I give the level as info, then the expectation here is that I'm going to print this. This is an info message. I'm going to print this. But by default, in logging, the level default level is warning. So let's see what's going to happen now. So if I run this file, you'll see that nothing got printed out, right? We aren't saving this file at this point. So yeah, so nothing got printed out. What I'll do now is I will change this info to warning, because we know that the default level of logging is warning. So once I come here, I'm going to run this, and you'll see that warning is printed, root, getting the data set. Now these are different components. We'll come to that when we sort of start to tweak with basic config. But that's the first thing. Next, what we want to do is, because I want the info level messages, what I can do is I can just set logging.info as a level, right? So my info level messages will be printed. Next thing, what I can do is I want to save this. So I'm going to save this into a file, and I could probably say this is logs.log, for example. And then, so let's do that. So just with this, what I'll do is I will run this. And at this point, you will see that nothing got printed out. But if I just look at this in the directory, I've got logs.log. And if I want to see logs.log, what do they contain? What does it contain? It contains this message. Again, the same message, but now it is at info level, because that's the level that we have provided here. Next, what we'll do is we'll go back here and execute that message. Execute the script again. So I've executed again, nothing get printed, but let's go back and look at the logs.log. And you'll see I've got two messages. Now, the reason I've got two messages is because by default, when we set in this basic config, we set the file name, the mode of the file or the messages that are being written to the log is in append mode. So if I run this 3 times, that message will repeat 3 times. So we don't want that. When we execute, we probably want to just simply write it. We don't want to append it. So what you can do is here you can mention file mode. And in this file mode, you could mention W as in write, right? So I'm going to save that now and exit this and run this. And let's look at the logs, and you'll see it's just 1. And now if I run this again and go back again, you see it's just 1. It's because it's not appending, it's just writing. Now that brings me to an important thing that you must have noticed is the way the messages were being printed. Now let's head over again to the browser, and I'll show you where you can find and where you can tweak as to how your messages should look like, right? So let's head over here again, same page. I'm going to scroll down, and at some point I should see, yeah, this is what I see, right? So this is the formatting that I can provide. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a look. So I'm going to now say format, and I'm going to take the time because I want to know at what time. So right here in the screen, so I've got format, as you can see, and I'm going to take this ASCII time, paste it right here, and then maybe separate that out with the file name, and yeah, I just need to put these quotes right at the end, right? Cool. And the next thing that I want to do is I have name, and you'll see what they print out, and it'll make more sense. And of course, I need the message because that's the message. I want the message to be printed out as well. And lastly, I want the level as well. So I want the level probably after name. Yes, so I have this now. So let's run this file once again, right? It has run, and now if I go look at the log, it's different, right? So I've got the time, I've got the date when I'm running this, I've got which file I'm running. Now this represents the logger. This is the root logger, and in a moment this will become clearer. What do I mean by root logger? But essentially, this is this logger. And we've got info level message, which is here, and then the message, right? So all good. This makes complete sense. Now, the next thing that we will do is we'll keep this file as is, but we will go to this ex2, right? And here, again, let me maximize this, hopefully, yeah. And here again, what I'll do is I'll say import. So imagine that this is another file that you're working on, another module. And so whatever whatever that you do here, you want to log that as well. So again, I have imported logging. The next step that I want to do is it's the same thing, right? Which is basic config. So sort of the template remains the same, right? So here, basic config, and what I want to do is level, and I'm going to set this level to, as I said, logging, let's say info, and I can change that to something else. So, but let's keep, let's keep info. Let's keep it simple. And next thing is I've got file name, and for this one I might say this is ex2.log, right? And next I have the file mode. File mode, I want to make sure it's right, and and then the formatting, right? So format. So for the format, what I'll do is I'll hop here and essentially just copy this out and come back ex2 and paste that right here. And I'm not going to do anything fancy here, but I'll just say logging.info, and I'll just say this message is from the future, right? So maybe I want to save that. and I'll save that file now. And now what I want to do is I will run ex2 instead of ex1, right? What you would expect to see is that when I run this, I should have ex2.log being created, right? That's at least the expectation. So let's run this. Well, something happened. Let's take a look. Well, I have got ex2.log, and let's look at ex2 ex2.log, and well, the message got printed. Next thing what we will do, so all is working well. Next thing what we will do is we want this message. Maybe you want to import ex2 and ex1. So what I'll do is I'll say import ex2, right? So I'm just going to import this. At this point, I'm not using any functionality from ex2, but let's say I've just imported this. Next, what I will do now is I will remove ex2 .log. I'm going to remove that, and maybe I will also remove the logs log, right? So that I now have just ex1, ex2. And what I'll do now is I'll run the file again. So yeah, backtrack. So this time I'll run ex1, and the expectation is while I'm running ex1, I should be able, I will definitely get this message, but maybe I'll get something from ex2, but let's see. So when I hit that, something happened. Let's take a look. Right. So what really happened was that I did not get ex1. I didn't get logs.log, but what I have is ex2.log. Now this is very strange because I wouldn't expect that. I would have expected that my messages will be logged here, but let's even see what we have in ex2.log. When you look at that, I've got the first message as this message is from future. I know that came from ex2.py because, the file name, which is this in my formatting, tells me. And then ex1.py tells me that getting Irish dataset. So the messages got logged, but they did not. But nothing got logged in logs.log. Now the reason this happened is because in Python, what happens is when you actually import something, the whole sort of code gets executed, or actually, so the whole code actually gets read. And when that happens, so for in this case, what happened was that when I imported ex2, so before this code ran, ex2 was imported. And in ex2, when it was imported, the logging module and the logger got imported. So this logger was sort of instantiated, and so this one did not get, because we already had logging set up. And so the root logger that we are using in this case is from ex2 and not from ex1, right? And yeah, so that's something to sort of remember. Now, next thing what we're going to do is we're going to change things a bit, because it's okay that what we have here, but it looks to me that if I use basic config and if I'm importing things, it can make it can cause issues like these. And so maybe I want to do something different here, a different way of maybe I want to instantiate and create instances of logger or something like that. So let's see what we can do about it, right? So the way that you can actually do that is so I've deleted that, and I'll say logging dot get logger, and I'll say name, right? So I'm going to go to logging and say get logger, and this name essentially represents the module name, right? So this module is going to be, this logger is going to be essentially for this, essentially for this module, right? That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to call this logger. Next thing which we would want to do is once we have once we have this, is we're going to say logger dot set level, because we want to set the level in this case. And as we are sort of setting levels, we want to make sure that that we provide levels to this. So in this case, what I'll say logging dot info. That's, so I've set the level. Next thing, once I've set the level, what I would want to do, very similar to what we did before, is I want to say I want to save it somewhere, right? So for that, you need something called a file handler. So I'll say file handler. Now I'll go to logging, say file file handler, and in this file handler, I can provide file name. And so in this case, I'll just say logs dot log. And the one thing that's different here, I don't have file mode, I have just mode. And in this mode, again, I'll say W, which is I'm going to write. So that's all that the file handler will do. What I need to do next is I need to format. Now I need to do formatting. So if I have a formatter that I'm going to say formatter, and I'm going to say logging.formatter, and then I need to provide something, right? So I want to provide the format. Now the format is what I'm going to copy and paste from here. It remains the same. And I'm going to move to ex2. Let's just paste that. Sorry, let's take that away. So I've got the formatter. Next thing which I want to do is essentially get my logger, add. So for first is you take file handler dot set formatter, and to that you will say formatter, and then I will have my logger dot add handler, and to this add handler I'll say file handler. So if you think what we have done is pretty simple, it's exactly what we did before, which was probably more concise, but this is a few more steps than before. But essentially we setting the level, we are creating a file handler where we can save the file, right? And the mode and everything. And then we have a formatter which provides a formatting. And then we are actually saying to the file handler, we pass that formatting. And then to the logger, which we instantiated here with the level, we just add our file handler. So I think we are pretty neat here. We're sort of done. Right, next thing what I have to do is, now this is probably most people forget, I do that as well sometimes, but I need to change this from, it should not be logging, but it should be a logger. Yeah, so next what we will do is we have this data set, and I've just written logger.info, and let's run this and see what happens. So I'm going to run this. This is ex1. Oh yeah, before I run this, there's just one more step that I just need to make sure that I do, is that I'm going to copy all of this, right? Copy all of this, and I'll move that here. It's the same thing, but in this case, what I just need to do is just make this ex2.log. So nothing changes. And yeah, exactly. Right, cool. Just need to get rid of, right, okay, let me just get rid of this. Right, so I've done that. And now if I go back to ex1 right here and run this file, which is ex1, right? So what you will see at this point is that, right, so I've got ex2, what I got? Oh yeah, see, I missed, when I copied and pasted, I missed that this should be logger, right? That's the one that we've done. So let's go back and run this. Now you can see there's no printout, no print again. But if I, take a look, I've got ex2.log and I've got logs.log. I've got both files, right? And let me just show that here. So I've got ex2.log and I've got logs.log, right? So I've got ex2, which was executed at 155, and this got executed 155, yeah, right about the same time, right? And ex2 now has, ex2 at this point has suggests that it's an info level message, and that's what we have. There. That's what we have in the file. I've got ex2.py, so everything sort of checks out. And I've got logs. Now this is the actual file that we ran, and it is executed from ex.py. But the logger where we ran from is suggested by main, right? That's a script that we triggered. But that script, when it got triggered, it saved the messages that were there in ex1.py was logs in logs.log, and the messages that was there in ex2 right here got logged in ex2.log. Hopefully that makes sense. Next, what we would want to do is go take this a little bit of a step further, which is just close this, right? So what can we do, right? So at this point, what's happening is I've got something that I'm actually saving as a file. What I want to do is maybe save the file, but also what's important for me is that I want to see the messages as well as my pipeline is running. So we want to do both. So now the way to do that is I will create another handler, right? So you can do it anywhere, but yeah, I'll create another handler. And for this one, what I'll say is, let's go here. And so that sort of logically sort of makes sense. I'll call this stream handler, right? And for this one, I'll say logging.stream handler. That's it. And then I have to, I can pass the same formatter to the stream handler. So I'll say stream handler dot set formatter, and then again logger dot add handler, and then I'll say stream handler. Right? I think I've done all the steps. Yes. And you could, if you wanted to, you could change the level of the stream handler. So you want to log, you want to log, let's say, only warning and above messages, and all the info level messages and below you want to, let's say, just print in the console. So you could do that. So it is customizable, right? And that's why stream handler is sort of useful. So you can file some kind of logs and stream just some kind of log, so something like that. So here, but we're gonna, when I run this, you will see that the message that gets saved is also the same message that gets printed out on the system, on the console. So let's take a look. Again, what also I can do is, and I should do this for this file as well. So I'm going to copy this, head over to ex2.py, and I've got stream handler, I've got the formatter, and I've got the set formatter, and here again, I'll just say logger dot add handler, and it'll be the stream handler, right? So, right. So everything looks perfect. And now we are going to, run this ex1 file. So let's run that. Okay. So what just happened is I just run this. So I do have these ex2 logs and logs.log. At the same time, I've got these messages that got printed out, and you can see it printed out at 2 o'clock in the morning. And this is what you will find. So if I go in here, you will find that there were, the same messages got logged here as well. So so the same messages got logged here, 2 o'clock, right? That's what happened. This is just to prove that it's the same message that got logged. So hopefully that makes sense. Now there are just last 2 pieces that I want to show, and that'll be the end of this video, and you will be sort of good to go at going through this on your own. I will in my description, I will give you like a PDF, which is sort of a walkthrough that I created. So the thing that I need to show right now, import something called a rotating handler, right? And so what this does is that it's going to essentially, you don't want to log all your files into one log file, because what that can happen is if your project is really big, you can end up creating one big huge log file. Maybe you have a lot of messages being logged, and then it'll be very difficult to open. What you can do is you can actually break that down depending on the size, right? So that's what this does. So I'm just going to I've imported from logging.handlers import rotating handler, and then essentially what I could do is, instead of file handler, I'll just say rotating handler, and I will just say rotating handler, and right, so everything's fine. I just need to rename this from file handler to a rotating handler, and then here you go, rotating handler. Now the thing that I do need to change is here, so I will probably copy this and right. So what I want to do is I've got this, I've got the file name, which is logs.log in this case, and I've got the mode as well. But what I want to do is I want to say that if my, let's say my max bytes exceed, let's say I don't know, about 2000 bytes, I want to create another file, right? And I want to keep on creating that. At the max that I want to create is, let's say, maybe 4 files, right? So that's what will go here. And okay, that's rotating handler, needs to go right here. So I've got the file. I want to create a message that is more than 200 bytes. So I will just create a for loop and says this is message number I, right? So that's what I have. And at this point, what I'll do is I'll come here. Let me remove ex2.log. So I'm going to delete this and also delete logs.log, right? So I've deleted that, and now I have, just those two files. Just to show this functionality, I'm going to comment this out at this point, and maybe comment this out as well, because this is not what we're using. So we're using just these. So at this point, I will just run ex1, and well, something happened. I made one small mistake, which is I call this, forgot stream handler. Let's run that again. Right. So you can see I've got these messages that are being printed out from starting from 0. This is message number 0, 1, and goes till 99. So I've got 100, in the loop there. So what should have happened is if I go to my folder, you will see that I've got logs.log, which is which was the name that I wanted to sort of save. But then I've got more files, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 4 files. Now I said, give me go maximum 4. So I've got these 4 files here. And then if I just go here, so you can see you've got these log files that are being saved here. Yeah. So right there. Right. So yeah, so it went through all of those. And last, that is remaining, last functionality that I'll show you is that you probably want to do this. So in this case, it was depending on size, but let's say you want to do that depending on the time, right? So we also have time rotating handler. And in this case, I'll just say time handler and also take this time rotating handler and see that here some things will change. So what I want to do in this case, again, I want to do this with respect to seconds. So every second I want to probably save a new file as an example, right? And also when I'm doing that, because I'm saying seconds, I'm saying every 1 second, so I need to provide interval. So interval is going to be 1. So that this is denoting, it's going to be every 1 second. And I'm getting these squiggly lines, so I think I need to get rid of this. Right, yeah. And so, and then I've got, so every second with interval 1, I could say every 2 seconds, or I could say like every minute or something. So I could do that. There's documentation available where you can change, you can see what goes into when. Right, so that's that. And lastly, yeah, so it's a time handler. And I'm just going to copy that. And again, time handler and time handler. All right, so I've got that. And now what I need to do is maybe what I'll do here. I have, again, this will be in the PDF that I provide, so you can sort of go through the walkthrough. So say for I in, let's say for I in range 6. And I want to probably do this for 6 seconds. And again, logger.info, and let's say, so maybe I want to say this is second I, right? So maybe I want to save that. And when I say, when I type that, the next thing I want to do is I want to make it sleep for a second and then run this again, right? Make it sleep for a second and then run that again. And now what I'll do is I'll run this. I think I am all set to run it. Yes. Right. So now let me just take a look at my directory. So I've got a lot of files here. What I could do is just, let me just select them quickly and let's just delete them. Right. Cool. So yeah, delete anyway. Okay, so they've been deleted. So next I will do is I will run this. Okay. All right. So you can see it's printing that message. So it went from 0 to 6. Sorry, for 6 seconds. The loop was for 6. And then, so that's great. So now we should see 6 files actually as log files. So if I go here, you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 files. And in each of those files, so if I probably go here, you'll see you've got, this is 5, 0, 1. So yeah, so there will be messages that are being saved. And that was time rotating handler. And so we looked at the basic configuration of how to set up logging. We went through how you could actually do create an instance of logging that is much safer to do. And that's probably the best practice that's out there in a lot of the codes. And also we went through the rotating file handler, where you will break that down depending on the size, and the time rotating handler, which depends on the time. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned something. And as I said, I'll bring in more content. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye.